with Jeremiah Fears, guard out of Oklahoma, you wrote earlier in the week that he could be moving into the top 5. Are we talking 4? Charlotte backcourt with LaMelo? Are we talking Utah? Danny Ainge has always fancied, guards in the mold of Jeremiah Fears, these spark plugs, smaller scoring guards. What are you hearing with Jeremiah Fears' rise, Raphael?
I've heard there's some teams that really like him, and there are some teams that feel like they would probably have to move up to get him. So Brooklyn is the team that I've heard that probably has some interest there. And so I've also heard from scouts from other teams that say that their scouting staff believes that he could be a better long-term prospect than Dylan Harper as far as just being like an exciting lead guard. And they talked about him being younger, and just what he did at Oklahoma was more impressive than what Dylan Harper did at Rutgers. So I think Dylan Harper is the consensus at number 2, but I've heard there's some teams that the gap is not that big between those two guys.
Is that a crazy thought for teams, James?
I said that he was a top 5 pick in December, so I don't think it's a crazy thought. I feel like...
Could he be better than Dylan Harper? Could Jeremiah Fears be better than Dylan Harper in the long term?
I think he could be better in the long term. Again, you ask yourself, what does Dylan Harper do better? Obviously, he finishes better at the rim. He's something like 65%, and he's bigger. But as far as like playmaking and the shooting numbers, they weren't, as far as like their high school to their college level, weren't too far off. And again, like Raphael said, Oklahoma has maybe one NBA player on that team besides him. And it was a historically great conference in the SEC. And they pushed UConn. They gave UConn everything. He was an engine. I talked to a college coach in the SEC, and he was like, he was one of our toughest matchups because he's hard to keep out of the paint. And then you factor in that he's 18. Like, he did all that, and he should just now be preparing for his freshman year of college. So I can see it. But, I mean, personally, I still think Dylan Harper is the second best prospect. I do think that while he, had his concerns at Rutgers as far as the jump shot, and maybe you say, well, how does a team that features another NBA top 5 pick only win X amount of games? But I do think that long term he is going to be really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think Harper's, obviously the at-rim finishing is awesome. He's so fluid in the lane, herky-jerky stuff. He's manipulative with his moves on the basket. And he's just strong. He's big, like you said. But with Fears, like if you're comparing the shooting upside of Harper to the shooting upside of Fears, you look at Harper at Rutgers his freshman year, he shot 36.8% on catch and shoot threes, 29.2% on pull-up threes, 27.8% on pull-up twos, 76.2% from the free throw line. And then with Fears, the three-point percentage on the surface was not good, 28%, but he was only 20.5% on dribble jumper threes, 36.1% on catch and shoot threes, 43.3% on mid-range jumpers, 50% on floaters, 85% from the free throw line. There's more good, touch indicators for Fears at the college and high school level than there are for Harper. Raphael, I think with Harper, I think he's a great prospect, but I've heard people say generational. I can't get there calling Dylan Harper a generational prospect without feeling confident in him being a long-term shooting prospect. That's my feeling. Are you with me, or am I underrating the shooting upside?
Well, the word generational, it's just been used too loosely the last few years.
It's too much.
It's way too much. I think for Harper, if he can just improve as a mid-range shooter, because he was good off the catch. I just think for him, it's being a better mid-range shooter. Coming into the year, I thought he would struggle as a mid-range shooter because of the low release. And I know like James Harden doesn't have the highest release. I know Trae Young and Tyrese Maxey don't have necessarily the highest release. But I felt like with Harper, when he was shooting the mid-range shot, because his release is so low, it can turn what looks like an open jumper into a contested jumper. And I wonder with NBA length, it's just that little bit of space. Is that going to make it harder for him? But if he can improve as a mid-range shooter, I think for him, because of his size and teams are running multiple ball handler lineups, I think teams may see that he's more valuable off the ball too.